सो टाइम था हमारा ऑफ 1999, एक ऐसा साल जिसे हम गेमिंग के नेक्स्ट एवोल्यूशन की तरह देख सकते हैं, क्योंकि ये वही साल था जहां पर प्लेयर्स को फाइनली 6th जनरेशन ऑफ कंसोल्स के साथ नेक्स्ट लेवल गेमिंग का एक्सपीरियंस मिलने वाला था। डेवलपर्स को फाइनली एक मौका मिलने वाला था टू ब्रॉडन देयर एम्बिशंस एंड मेक इट अ रियलिटी ऑन अ मच मोर पावरफुल हार्डवेयर। इस आउट ऑफ द वर्ल्ड टेक्नोलॉजी के साथ डेवलपर्स फाइनली प्लेयर्स को ऐसे एक्सपीरियंस प्रोवाइड कर सकते थे दैट सिंपली weren't possible before. As a result, competition was going to be intense. And इसी को predict करते हुए सारे console publishers ready थे to jump into the market as soon as possible. One of them being Sega. अपनी Saturn के साथ करी गई गलतियों से सीखते हुए Sega wasted no time and was the first one to release their new console Dreamcast along with the first mainline 3D Sonic game, Sonic Adventure. Sonic Adventure, while getting some unnecessary hate nowadays, was received very well, even becoming one of the best-selling titles for the console. जिसकी वजह से a sequel was obvious, and development team wasted no time in execution of their idea. Especially seeing how poorly Dreamcast did after the release of PS2, this game was Sega's final shot at retaining their place in the console market. And finally, after 2 years of wait, this game came out in 2001. Sonic Adventure 2, a game that I do an apology to, and after replaying it God knows how many times, it has turned into one of my favorite games and my pick for the best 3D Sonic game. It's one of those games that I play very often to have some casual fun, and the more I do so, I fall in love with it even more. Lekin let's save this talk for later because I am going to discuss why I think Sonic Adventure 2 is the best 3D Sonic game. So, let's put on our soap shoes, look for the Master Emerald, and destroy some gun robots, because we gotta live and learn. So if we are talking about story, I had to say SA2 has one of the best story in Sonic history, and before you start lecturing me on how wrong I am, I request you to hear my words. So right off the bat, SA2 gives you the feeling of a grander scope by being the first game in the series that allows you to play as both heroes and villains. Hero side story में you have fan favorites Sonic, Knuckles and Tails as main character. तो वहीं पर dark side story में you can play as the newcomers Rouge the Bat, Shadow the Hedgehog, and for the first time in a Sonic game, Eggman, aka Dr. Robotnik. Also, as you can see, तुम इन दोनों में से कोई भी स्टोरी पहले खेल सकते हो, बट अगर तुम्हें बेटर कंटिन्यूटी चाहिए, तुम साइमल्टेनियसली भी ऐसा कर सकते हो. एंड अगर तुम मेरी मानो, तो स्टार्ट विद द डार्क स्टोरी, but eventually complete both the stories side by side to get the full context of events and their order of occurrence. Anyways, so if you are playing according to my suggestion, हमारी story start होती है with Dr. Eggman, who bursts into a military facility after discovering his grandfather's diary about a secret weapon being held at the base. Soon enough, he overpowers security robot in the facility and finally gets to the secret weapon. जिसके बाद, it is revealed that the secret weapon his grandfather was talking about is actually a hedgehog named Shadow, who was created as an ultimate life form. Shadow, after being awakened from his sleep, tells him that he will grant Robotnik a wish, but soon enough, they are interrupted by a giant mech sent by Gun, aka Guardian Units of Nation, the same military organization Eggman has been fighting against, and to demonstrate his power, Shadow defeats the mech. After which, Robotnik asks him about the wish thing he mentioned earlier, to which Shadow asks him to bring the Chaos Emerald to the Ark. Right off the bat, SA2 immediately presents the player with mysteries and a lot of questions, thereby giving you a reason to engage yourself with the plot. And for a game with rating of E for everyone, it can actually have pretty high stakes. Anyways, after being released, Shadow does a lot of illegal stuff, one of them being stealing a Chaos Emerald. जिसके बाद, in order to cover up their mess and existence of Shadow, Gun places the whole blame on Sonic, even going as far as to arrest him. जिसके बाद, he is being transported to the prison island, but Sonic knocks everyone on board, thereby escaping the military with the door of the helicopter to be used as a ski. And after running for quite some time, Sonic finally meets Shadow, where he puts 2 and 2 together and concludes that military has mistaken him for Shadow, which I will soon touch upon later. Now, while the plot has some movements, the major reason you will be interested in the story is because of the characters, which is exactly what makes the story work so well. Sonic is a very cool and cocky guy who loves to take a lot of jokes, is open-hearted, and is a lot carefree in nature. Knuckles is the same introvert and responsible guy he was in the previous adventure, is to carry on his arc of believing in himself, and finally comes off as his own man in this game. Dr. Robotnik is a genius scientist who wants to rule the world with his technology, and let me tell you, Eggman is at his best in this game.
Let's take care of business first, shall we, Sonic? Hand over the Chaos Emerald, slowly, and then we'll talk about your girlfriend. That is, if you really care for her.
Handing over the fake emerald? I can kill 2 birds with 1 stone!
Put the emerald down right there and back off.
You've turned into a big-time villain, Doctor.
Whoa! You thought you could trick me with that fake emerald, didn't you?
So, how did you know it wasn't the real one?
Tails!
Because you just told me, Fox Boy.
Rather than being a side villain, he actually feels like he's the main bad guy of the game. Rouge is the double agent who is obsessed with jewels, but best of them has to be Shadow. His character arc and the way he's portrayed in the game is so great. Now at first he may seem like an edgelord who thinks everyone is inferior to him, but the more you learn about his backstory, you get the full context of why he acts the way he does, and gradually you see him becoming more expressive of his emotions. Now before going through the details, a huge spoiler warning. Skip to this given timestamp if you wish to avoid the spoilers. So after government को Jared Robotnik, aka Eggman के grandfather की research के बारे में पता चलता है, they are scared to shit because of the risk it poses, thereby asking him to shut down the project. But Jared ऐसा करने से मना कर देता है. However, becoming skeptical of his work and following his constant refusal for shutting down the project, Gunn raids the space colony Ark, which is where he was doing his research, and that is how they exactly discovered the existence of Shadow the Hedgehog, created under Project Shadow. Maria, जो कि Jared की granddaughter थी, was a close friend of Shadow and helped him to escape the colony with the help of a pod, but in doing so, was shot down by the military, meeting her tragic demise. Furious with the death of his granddaughter, Geralt reprograms all of his major projects, including a weapon of mass destruction built in the Ark called Eclipse Cannon, so as to destroy the Earth, and even reprograms Ark itself to crash land once all the 7 Chaos Emeralds are placed in its core. Not only that, he reprograms Shadow to bring all the 7 Emeralds to the Ark, and even manipulates his memory to make it seem like Maria asked him to take revenge. In fact, I am not really doing the lore justice, which is why I would suggest to read it for yourself. This is exactly why he acts the way he does, out of the last wish of his dead best friend and his own guilt of not being able to save her. And to add cherry on the top, he goes through character development जहाँ पर he slowly starts to express his emotions, and finally when he realizes the truth, he helps everyone to stop the Ark from crashing, during which he admits that he thinks Sonic is the true ultimate life form and eventually sacrifices himself for the greater cause. As you can already see, it's really mature for a kid's game. But don't worry because there is still some cheesiness to be had here. However, there are still some serious issues with this story. सबसे पहले, let's talk about the presentation. While the animations have seen a significant improvement from SA1, they still seem pretty dated and characters at times look like they are puppet controlled by a string. Also, इस गेम के later versions के साथ एक बहुत बड़ी problem को introduce करा गया. That being horrible sound mixing which sometimes make it impossible to hear the dialogue, not to mention numerous lip sync and translation errors. Also, you might be wondering why I never mentioned about everyone mistaking Shadow for Sonic, and that is because I never regarded to be that big of a plot hole. Now, hear me out. Shadow गन की फैसिलिटी से भाग जाता है, जिसका मतलब है they are most definitely aware of his existence. So there is very less chance कि they could mistake Sonic for Shadow. Second thing is, Sonic and Shadow were running from the military at the same place and at the same time. Third thing being, according to some eyewitnesses, which either is attempted by Gunn to spread rumors or Shadow running away with the Chaos Emeralds, which by the way, Chaos Emeralds allows you to turn into different forms, which by the way, Shadow's quills looks very similar to Super Sonic. And so this is it for the story. Now let's jump to the main stuff you will play a Sonic game for, the gameplay.